The Middle East has erupted into chaos following an unprecedented Iranian missile strike that devastated the Israeli cities of Tel Aviv and Haifa, in what is now being described as the most severe escalation in regional hostilities since the 2006 Lebanon War, or even the 1973 Yom Kippur War. Dozens of Iranian ballistic missiles slammed into key Israeli urban centers, destroying infrastructure, killing hundreds, and injuring thousands. This escalation is a direct retaliation following what Iran has called a coordinated act of aggression by the United States and Israel against strategic Iranian assets. As the world watches this volatile confrontation unfold, the threat of full-scale regional war looms large. This article provides a comprehensive account of the events, the military and strategic dynamics at play, and the broader implications for the Middle East and the international community. Chapter 1. The Spark, Prelude to Destruction. The conflict's origins lie in years of rising tension between Israel and Iran, two of the most antagonistic powers in the Middle East. While both nations have exchanged hostile rhetoric for decades, the immediate spark was a series of coordinated airstrikes by Israel and the United States on Iranian military targets, including suspected nuclear enrichment facilities in Natanz and Fordo, missile depots near Isfahan, and Revolutionary Guard command centers. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei declared the strikes an act of war. "They will regret this cowardly aggression," he warned in a televised speech. Within hours, Iranian state media began broadcasting images of missiles being loaded onto mobile launchers. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, was placed on high alert. Chapter 2. The strike. Iranian missiles rained down at precisely 3:42 a.m. local time. Dozens of missiles were launched from western Iran. The weapons used included Shahab-3 medium-range ballistic missiles, Fateh 3-113 short-range precision-guided missiles, Zulfiqar and Dezful missiles, with ranges between 700 and 1,000 kilometers, Tel Aviv under fire. Within minutes, explosions echoed across Tel Aviv. The city's iconic Azrieli Center was partially destroyed, the financial district engulfed in flames. Missile impacts were recorded near government buildings, transportation hubs, and densely populated neighborhoods. The Iron Dome defense system, long hailed as a technological marvel, intercepted many missiles, but was overwhelmed by the volume and sophistication of the attack. Initial estimates suggest at least 200 fatalities in Tel Aviv, with thousands more injured. Emergency services struggled to reach survivors trapped in collapsed buildings. Fires raged for hours as firefighters worked through the wreckage. Haifa in flames. Israel's northern port city of Haifa, home to a major naval base, oil refineries, and industrial zones, was similarly targeted. Multiple strikes hit the Haifa port, causing large explosions and halting all maritime activity. Secondary blasts at petrochemical plants caused toxic plumes to rise into the air. The attack paralyzed northern Israel's economy and military logistics. The death toll in Haifa stood at over 150 by midday, with many more still missing beneath rubble and debris. Chapter 3. Strategic and Military Analysis. Iran's missile strategy. Iran has long relied on its ballistic missile program to project power. Despite sanctions and international restrictions, the IRGC developed a wide range of missile technologies, many of them mobile, hardened against preemptive strikes, and capable of evading missile defenses. This strike demonstrated a new level of capability. Several missiles used multiple re-entry vehicles, MRVS, suggesting a leap in guidance systems. The attack's coordination and simultaneous impact across cities indicate strong command and control systems and precise intelligence. Israel's defense systems tested Israel's three-tiered missile defense system, Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow 3, faced its greatest challenge to date. While Iron Dome intercepted many incoming short-range rockets, the volume and speed of the ballistic missiles meant that not all could be neutralized. Arrow 3 intercepted several Shahab 3 missiles, but some bypassed detection entirely. Critics now question whether Israel's multi-billion-dollar missile defense shield can keep pace with new generation threats. Chapter 4. The Human Toll. Casualties and chaos hospitals in both Tel Aviv and Haifa operated at capacity. Makeshift triage centers were set up in parks and sports arenas. Medical teams from across the country were deployed. With power grids damaged, blackouts swept through major neighborhoods, complicating rescue efforts. Thousands of Israelis fled their homes. Bomb shelters across the country are full, and citizens are being urged to stock up on essentials. The national trauma from such destruction is palpable. International humanitarian response. The United Nations, European Union, and multiple NGOs have condemned the attacks and called for ceasefire negotiations. Emergency humanitarian aid from European countries and the United States is being prepared, although delivery may be complicated by ongoing hostilities. Chapter 5. Political and global repercussions. Israel's response. Retaliation. Inevitable Israeli Prime Minister declared, "We are at war. This will not go unanswered." The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, have mobilized reserves, launched retaliatory strikes on Iranian positions in Syria, and begun preparation for further long-range operations. There is speculation that Israel may target Iran's leadership infrastructure or launch cyber offensives on Iran's power grid and military command networks. United States, caught in the storm. The U.S., already embroiled in the initial strikes against Iran, is now being blamed by much of the world for triggering this escalation. Washington has deployed additional air and naval assets to the Persian Gulf and Eastern Mediterranean. President of the United States addressed the nation, stating, "We will defend our allies, but we do not seek an expanded war." However, U.S. bases in Qatar, Bahrain, and Iraq have already been placed on high alert amid fears of Iranian retaliation. Global energy and economic fallout. Oil prices surged over $150 per barrel within hours of the strike. Stock markets plunged across Asia, Europe, and the Americas. The Strait of Hormuz, through which 20% of global oil flows, could be closed if Iran escalates further. Multinational companies have begun evacuating personnel from Israel and parts of the Middle East. Airlines have canceled flights into the region. Economic analysts are warning of a potential global recession if the conflict expands. Chapter 6. Regional dominoes. Hezbollah and the Northern Front. Iran's most powerful regional proxy, Hezbollah, has reportedly begun shelling Israeli positions along the northern border. This raises the specter of a two-front war. Israeli citizens in Galilee are being evacuated, and airstrikes on southern Lebanon have already begun. Gulf states on alert. While many Sunni Arab nations view Iran as a threat, they are reluctant to see open war break out. Saudi Arabia and the UAE have activated missile defense systems, fearing Iranian reprisal. Jordan and Egypt have called for emergency meetings of the Arab League. Turkey, Russia, and China-Turkey has condemned the violence and called for a negotiated peace. Russia has offered to mediate but criticized both U.S. and Israeli aggression. China has urged restraint but warned against attacks that might threaten energy routes critical to its interests. Chapter 7. Possible futures. 1. Regional war scenario. Should hostilities continue unabated, the Middle East could collapse into a region-wide war involving Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and the Gulf. U.S. forces may engage Iranian military units directly. Cyber attacks could target civilian infrastructure globally. Second, stalemate and insurgency. If neither side achieves a decisive advantage, the war could devolve into ongoing strikes, cyber warfare, and proxy battles, reminiscent of Cold War-style frozen conflicts. 3. Ceasefire and diplomatic reset pressure from the international community, particularly from the EU and UN, could force a ceasefire. Secret negotiations may begin, possibly with mediation by neutral nations like Switzerland or Oman. Conclusion: a new Middle East reality. The missile strikes on Tel Aviv and Haifa have fundamentally altered the landscape of the Middle East. What was once a shadow war of intelligence operations and proxy conflicts has erupted into full-scale interstate confrontation. Both Israel and Iran are now faced with the grim calculus of escalation or negotiation. This is not just a military crisis. It is a humanitarian disaster, a geopolitical earthquake, and a dire warning about the fragility of peace in a region long haunted by war. The next steps taken by world leaders could mean the difference between an uneasy peace and a cataclysm that engulfs the globe.